Alright, started work on the Aztecs. I've done the underneath of the Enterprise and the underneath of the warp nacelles. Generally went down not too bad. A couple of tearing issues here and there, and a couple of placement issues I've got to warn you about. So I just started on halves. So I did this half first, outer, half inner, half, then let that dry, half outer and half inner this side. You've got the big oval decal for the Captain's yacht area, put that down, let that dry with a microset. You've got this tiny little oval decal there on the Captain's yacht, put that down, let that dry with a microset. You've got the two halves of the neck, let those dry with a microset. Once all that was dry, I then 4 applications of the microsol later. It's gone into the recesses of the triangular sections and the recesses of the windows there. I had to nip some of those recesses for the windows with my scalpel. Once the microsol had dried, then I sealed it with a clear gloss. You've got the secondary decals on top of the clear gloss. You've got the registry, and you've got this little grid decal here with a little red line before the recess of the neck, and this little red one after the recess of the neck. Those are drying. Those two. The belly, 1, 2 and 3 Aztecs. On the Aztec here, on the underneath of the warp struts, that curls round the sides there. 3 applications of the microsol later, those have gone down, and I've sealed those with a clear gloss. Now here comes the warnings. This decal here, which is supposed to be 38, and this decal here, which is supposed to be 37, when you put them on the outer sections of the saucer, those have actually got to be swapped the other way around. So that's your one warning. The second warning is the Federation logo here with these stripes. This is too long. It ends up down here. And then there's a little red marking there, turning the flash on. A little tiny red marking there. And with these 2 stripes here, that's got like a C shape around this raised section instead of being down here. So I've had to cut that in the middle and then bring those up and blend them in. So that's your second warning. Right, warp nacelles. I'm having an issue with these decals, especially around the raised sections here and going round the curved edges. I've applied 2 sets of microsol so far. I'm just waiting for this to dry, and then I'm going to have to put another couple of applications of the microsol on. So you've got the curved sections there, the curved sections here, and around these raised sections here, especially around the back here. I've pre-drilled my hole for my stand, because on the reissue on HPI Guy's workshop, that's where it goes. So that's that sorted. Right, regarding the base, I've got a couple of Star Trek Dome bases upstairs with the rods in my spares box, but I haven't got the movable joint and the cap. So, as a bit of a pro wrestling fan, what's that got to do with Star Trek? In AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact and a few other promotions, there's a phrase going around just lately called the Forbidden Door, where all the wrestlers from the other promotions can go to the other promotions. I'm going to be kicking in the Forbidden Door with this kit for the base. So, I've got some Star Wars bases, hence kicking in the Forbidden Door. The reason I'm going to use these, you've got the movable joint, so I can pose this at an angle, and you've got the cap. Now, demonstrating with my cocktail stick, if I just use the rod by itself without no bloody joint and cap, it's going to drop through right to the underneath of the roof of the secondary hull on the top. I don't want that. I want the cap, and it's going to sit on there. Now, out of my 3 Star Wars bases, you've got me 2 Death Stars from my original X-Wing and my TIE Fighter, and the Jakku from my Resistance Fighter. Taking those 2 away, I'm going to be using this one. You've got this circular section here, and the circular section round there, because I'm going to be dressing this up as a Borg Cube. Interesting, isn't it? So I'm going to be painting this in silver, some gunmetal, some black, fluorescent green, which will also go in this recess here, and some blues and some reds to dress this up like a Borg Cube. And I also like these little bits of detail that would appear on a Borg Cube, because as you know, in Best of Both Worlds and First Contact the film, the Borg Cube dwarfs any ship that the Federation has to offer. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Right, hopefully you've all had a nice Christmas and you're enjoying your time off if you don't have to go back to work till the 4th of January like me. I've had a good Christmas, not too bad, enjoying my 11 days off, so I don't go back till the 4th of January. Well, I can happily say that the Enterprise is all finished. I've put the top Aztecs on, I've detailed the Star Wars base to look like a Borg Cube, and I'm quite chuffed with the results actually, so here's the final reveal. Right, so there it is, Enterprise in all its glory, with my converted Death Star base into the Borg Cube. Now when I'd left you, I was just explaining about the Death Star, you know, base with the forbidden door and all that crap. So I started on the saucer section with the aztecing, outer ring first, let that dry, do the inner ring, let that dry, then the many applications of microsol later, especially round this raised section here for the bridge area, the actual base of the bridge area, then the actual bridge dome. That took about 5 or 6 applications of the sol. Little bit of jabbing there with my scalpel to get it to go underneath, but eventually I did that. Then once that had dried with the microsol, I then sealed it with the Revell clear gloss and put the secondary decals on, which was mainly the NCC 1701D registry and the USS Enterprise. I then carried on with the neck, started work on that, so worked my way down. That was 2 decals and 1 in the middle for the main neck piece. Then I, once that was dry, worked on the secondary hull, the 2 half pieces, one there, and then the neck. And then you've got the 2 decals here, the Aztecs, one that goes on the back here and goes underneath the bottom of the warp nacelles. And on the underneath of there. Now putting the warp nacelles on, it was quite difficult. I had to widen the holes slightly because some of the, you know, when I've been spraying in the Painter's Touch spray paint, it got in the hole, so you will have to widen those holes or mask them off even. But eventually I basically went from the back, put the back piece in first and then brought it down so it will lock into place, and just put a bit of glue around the edges, a bit of extra security. Now the top decals, which was 2 decals, you got this one here at the front of the nacelle, and then you got the main one. It's not like 4 pieces like the bottom piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just 1 decal. That wasn't as bad as the bottom ones. I put about 4 or 5 coats of the microsol on, as opposed to about the 7 or 8 that I put on the underneath. So I sealed those. And then put the secondary decals on, which was the Federation logo with the stripes. You got these little decals. I don't know if them are running lights. That was a pain in the arse to get on, and eventually they did go into place. And then just soldered those. Once I'd done all that, once all that was dry, then I clear glossed it all the way again. And then once that was dry, I then turned the Enterprise over back on the towel, and then just went all to town with the Revell matte, clear matte. Once the bottom was dry, I then put it back on the towel, the little ring towel that I made to support the saucer section, and then just went to town with the Revell matte coat again, the Revell clear matte, and it's looking really nice, and that's lovely and sealed. So that's all that done. Like I said, it's on its base. I've managed to adjust it so it's slightly tilted. Now, as far as the cube base goes, which used to be the Death Star, I used this paint, which is 151 metallic silver, and it was £1.79 for like 200ml. Picked that up from Bright Bargains in Bilston. Because originally what I was going to do is I was going to go on top of this with the silver with some washes and some dry brushing. but it would have took really long time, and I did try it. I put about 3 or 4 coats of the wash and the dry brushing, but it didn't work out. So I just painted the black on. I didn't go fully dipping. I did do some dry brushing just with a bit more paint as I would normally, because you could probably make out the silver streaks there. It's still coming through all the way around. There's still some silver showing through, especially the wiring detail. You've got that back wall there. I probably should have painted that, but I'm not really that worried about it. Inside the circular section here, this raised circular section, I've left that in the silver and just painted the Vallejo fluorescent green and just dry brushed up the wall. And the one thing I like about this with the light from the camera, it's actually projecting the green onto the stand where the silver bits are. Also painted that square section as well, just painted in the bottom, took a couple of coats and then dry brushed up the side, and just generally picked out some areas with the Vallejo fluorescent green, and then just topped back up with some silver and some gunmetal to bring that out. Who would have thought this started life out as a Death Star base? Not too bad at all. The swivel joint, some of the silver got on there, but I could still move that joint to pose it. So I'll put it in the right position to make sure this is angled slightly. And that's it, all finished. And I'm really well chuffed on how this has turned out. So as usual, hopefully I haven't bored you too much. I'll put some stills on at the end of this video. And I'm hoping, along with your Christmas, I'm hoping you all have a bloody good New Year and don't get too drunk. Thank you very much for watching.